Welcome everybody to the Digital Assets and Web3 Plenary. If you're struggling to reconcile the handsome chap here to the man in front of you, I'm James Gordon. I'm a partner at Wyman. I'm on the advisory board of Immutable, and I'm your host for the sessions this afternoon. Now, with the festival theme of resiliency, and this being a 4-hour discussion about digital assets and Web3, it's hard not to reflect on the crash that happened earlier this year. I'm sure many here experienced the capital losses, the reduction in valuations, the liquidity pressure, amplified by fragmentation, the contagion that swept through the ecosystem, and the cascade of negative sentiment that put us where we are today. Retail investors felt the brunt. If we look at those who invested in earn propositions, who were involved in staking, who took on leverage in the pursuit of yield, they lost big time. If we look at the big names like Celsius, Voyager, 3 Arrows Capital, they became insolvent, they filed for bankruptcy, and again, retail investors who had their assets tied up and custodied with Celsius were the ones that bore the brunt. The old adage, not your keys, not your coins, became depressingly mainstream. But that's not the story of digital assets and Web3. We should rewind the clock a couple of years, and what we see is a period of enormous growth. Yes, fueled by speculative investment, but that brought entrepreneurs, it brought developers, it brought VC funding. We tackled some of the big challenges that face technology in this ecosystem. Whether that's the energy footprint of proof of stake, consensus mechanisms, and you can hear Vitalik talk about the merge and the move to proof of stake in the session tomorrow. Whether it's the scalability, the old trilemma of scalability, security, and decentralization with layer 2 rollups, providing near infinite scalability whilst inheriting the security of the underlying parent chain, to the rise of DeFi and the composability and programmability of smart contracts, allowing almost infinite financial services on a peer-to-peer basis. For me, this is very optimistic time. And if we think about what's ahead, and I think about the crypto natives, I see a bifurcation. There are those who are reliant on speculative value that launched NFT projects with pixelated faces. There's those that are reliant on asset valuations or trade volumes, those that are at difficult spots in their funding cycle, who haven't built up a war chest, who haven't hedged their balance sheet. These startups are struggling. But there's those that are building infrastructure, those that have got projects focused on utility, those who've managed to diversify their revenue streams, follow value pools as they evolve across the ecosystem. And they're benefiting from the fact that there's reduced competition. They're not focused on their next airdrop or what their Discord followers are saying. And they're building something with a longer time span, a longer vision than they would before. I'm more excited about institutions. Now is the time for institutions to be building and establishing their role in the ecosystem. There's free talent in the market in a way there wasn't a year ago. A number of well-known startups, crypto natives, have shed staff in an effort to reduce their cost base. That talent was not available a year ago, and institutions should be lapping it up. They should be using their balance sheets to grow, to establish their role, to put in place propositions as the flight to safety and the flight to trust continues. Finally, there's been a huge amount of progress on the regulatory side. And I'm sure there are regulators here in the room who will be the first to say there's more to do. But there's nothing like consumer losses to get this topic front of mind for policymakers, clear the way for regulators to set clear perimeters and structure for what we should and shouldn't be building. And that takes me finally to the chart that I have on the page, which I think is one of the most optimistic charts I've seen. The orange line is the market cap of Ethereum. You can see the peak earlier this year and then the drop. The blue-gray shaded area in the background is weekly downloads of 2 of the most important development libraries in Web3, Web3.js and Ethers.js. These are the libraries that allow you to interact with and build on top of Ethereum. And just look at that trend. Right? This is not only growing week on week, but that growth is accelerating. It's accelerating, and it didn't even wobble when the market crashed. And for me, that is the most optimistic sign. They say build during a downturn, and we're doing it. It's wonderful. We've got a really good lineup of speakers for you today. Before we bring out the first panel, we're going to do a test. This is an interactive session. There is a quiz. We're going to use Slido for you to engage with the moderators to ask your questions of the panels throughout the day. And so we're going to test Slido. Please scan the QR code and get yourself in. And the quiz, and we'll need to flick back to the PowerPoint, please, chaps. The quiz is simple. This is my portfolio. It's not my portfolio. This is my portfolio. I have a Bored Ape. I have some Bitcoin. I have some Stake Teeth. I have some Luna Terra. I've got Luna Classic. I'm sure everybody knows what that's worth today. I have some USDC, and I have some Paxos Gold. A week before the crash, it was worth 1.3 million US dollars. Not my portfolio, my portfolio. The question to you is, what's it worth today? So get on Slido, you'll find the poll. We can pull up, oh, this is your last chance to take a photo of this, by the way, before it disappears. Snap, snap. This is just me wanting to get photos of me. Get on Slido, find the poll, vote for what you think it's worth today, and that will, by default, get you into Slido to ask questions of our panelists throughout the morning. Shall we pip up the Slido QR code one more time? And whilst you wait, if you're standing at the back, I can see at least 20 seats down the front. Don't be shy. Come on in, come on in. Can we switch to the live poll and see how people are doing? Perfect. Oh, ouch. 1.3 million a week before the crash. I've got some USDC in there, guys. I've got Paxos Gold. These are stable coins. They're pegged to stuff that is worth stuff. This is good. 91 people voted. That means we are actually in Slido. Wonderful. I'll give you another 30 seconds. If you don't know the person next to you, turn to them. Make it a competition. See who's right. Okay, why don't we call it there? 7% of you are right. Finger on the pulse, 7% are right. If we flick back to the slides, you can see what happened to my portfolio. I won't talk about it, but we'll introduce the next panel and they can be up on screen. 8%. Can we have the final slide up, please? There we go. So my Bored Ape tanked, but my USDC in Paxos looks fine. ETH is down 50%, Bitcoin is down 50%. I'm at about 650K. Thank you, everybody.